Hi everyone, this is Killer Rules once again. Just want to have a little discussion about something that, has kind of fascinated me in regards to, how people, react to such an industry. And today I want to talk about smartphones. That's right, those little gadgets that those phones now. Now they have all those, multimedia features, and now they've turned into little fun gadgets that you can basically use to play games or view photos, watch movies, and all that stuff. Well, now apparently a video game company is being pressured to be a part of it. So, what do I have to say about that? Oh, and basically this is as a response to, the stakeholders, the Nintendo stakeholders basically, reducing the stocks. Well, basically their stocks were reduced as a result of the, not understanding the Wii U, which is other bullshit, because the Wii U is fairly easy to understand. It's just that Nintendo, failed to show enough, or to actually show the console properly. They just didn't quite explain it too well. Well, they did, but they didn't at the same time. So now they're thinking, well, why not just make a smartphone gadget if you really want to be, have a touch screen in your consoles? And that's where it all started, pretty much. Maybe not in an exact way, but pretty much. So, what do I have to say? Well, to be honest, I don't really care for the stakeholders. They're not the ones who should be necessarily telling Nintendo to just conform to the market. There is more to it than that. You see, with smartphones, you require many developers, as in many kinds of developers for it. You can't just have one. You can't just have one set of developers for games to be making smartphones. It's not a good idea. For example, with smartphones, you need to make them phones. You need to get phone calls to be done right. You need text messaging to be done right. You need to have all those interactions with other phones to work. So, we know about the history of Nintendo when it comes to interactions. They're not completely perfect. So for them to do smartphones is not exactly a good idea. Don't have anything against Nintendo's online system, but they're not quite up to that level yet to have those kinds of developers who do that sort of thing. What they need to just focus on is what they do best, and that's the games. And that's where the good of the 3DS and the Wii U will be for. If you really want to focus on online or any of that sort of shit, well, all you have to do is get the right people for making online. But with smartphones, it's a little harder than that. There's a little more to them. So, I don't think it's a good idea for Nintendo to be part of this at all. In fact, I think a lot of people agree with that, because there's just no point. Nintendo already have a 3DS, and with the Wii U, they can at least, focus on gaming, but they also offer this option of having a touch screen to play games on, but you can also play, standard games on it if you really want to, if you don't want the TV. But I don't understand what's the point of having a handheld smartphone, or have a smartphone which will probably just have the same games as what you find on the 3DS, but it won't have buttons. If you think about it, that's just stupid. I mean, even if you did put buttons on the smartphone, what's the point? You may as well make it a 3DS. Exactly. What's the point? There's no point of having them. Okay? Once you've made a handheld touchscreen device, there's not much of a point, unless you really think that all they need to do is put multi-touch on the 3DS. That's probably the only thing to resolve the situation. If you really want something like smartphones, then maybe make the 3DS multi-touch. But since they picked single touch with the stylus or a little button press, then nothing much you can do about it unless they choose to upgrade it in the next lineup of 3DSs or whatever they call it. So honestly don't see what's the point. I mean, it's just not a market for Nintendo. It's not necessary. For Sony, it's different because they're a multi-faceted corporation. They do all sorts of things. They do DVD players. They do TVs. They do all sorts of gadgets, radios. They do. I think they also have. I'm not too sure what else they have. I mean, they have all sort of gadgets and technologies. Same for Microsoft. Although Microsoft is more on computers and all that stuff, but you know what I mean, because you know they can do all sorts of technologies as well. Nintendo is more focused on the video games. You know, ever since the 70s. You know, I mean there's no need for them to do smartphones. It's just not going to work out for them, you know. People have already got other smartphone brands, and if Nintendo is part of it, they're not going to profit much from it. It's just going to be the same crap as the other phones, but there'll just be some Nintendo exclusives. And honestly, people don't want to play just with touch control when it comes to the Nintendo games. The few exceptions to that might be, I don't know, let's see, what sort of Nintendo game might be okay? Maybe the old RPGs might be alright on it, or maybe the because they're all platformers and it doesn't work when it comes to touch control. I just don't want them to be, limited by that. Even if they did include buttons, it's just going to be the 3DS. So, I mean, the only solution I could say is make the 3DS multi-touch or something like that. That way, you don't have to do smartphones, but you can still do the smartphone ideas. That's all I can say. That's the only solution to this. Use smartphone ideas. Don't make a smartphone. That way, you can make the gamers happy. You might make stakeholders happy as well. That way, you don't really have to put up with, having to be part of a phone industry. Because I don't think Nintendo needs that. Anyway, that's it. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I will do my best to make up more issues. And yeah, see you later.